Howdy, everybody. Welcome to 2023. Can't believe that we are in our fourth year of talking about increasing capacity with one another. And I can't wait to jump into today's show. I know you're going to love it because Stephanie is back in the studio with us today as we look back on 2022 and forward into this coming year. My name is Adam Shaw.
And I'm Stephanie Shaw.
And this is The Restorationist. Well, again, Happy New Year, everybody. My goodness. Stephanie, 4 years.
Adam, you've done 4 years.
4 years worth of episodes. And I'm more excited for this upcoming year than I think I've been for the past couple. We got some big things coming for the show.
And we're going to hit some huge milestones this year.
Huge milestones because in the early part of this year, we're going to be hitting our 100th episode, which 100 episods. And it's not like the episodes are short episodes either. 100 podcast episodes. That's a huge milestone for us. And
I think also this year, Adam, we're going to surpass that 500,000 downloads.
I want to hit 500,000 downloads so bad just because I think it'd be awesome. I think it'd be cool.
It's just a cool number.
It's a cool number. It is a great milestone for an apostolic show, especially considering that we do bi-weekly. And so we do about 20. If we hit all of our numbers, which I don't think I ever have since we started because life happens and we're not full-time podcasters. We have full-time jobs, and then we do this at night in the basement. And so we are going to be hitting we hit about 20 to 25 episodes a year, and coming up on 500,000 downloads. But this is going to be a great year. We've got some great things planned. I don't want to talk about them too quickly before we actually make them happen. And so once the ball gets rolling on some really exciting stuff, we want to really, really grow the show. And I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting.
It's going to happen this year, 2023.
2023, it's going to happen. Well, the whole point of this show today is for Steph and I to reflect on 2022, stuff that's happened, because one of the things that is really cool is how interested all of you are in not just the content we create, but our everyday lives too. And that's one of the pieces of feedback that always seems to come in is, hey, when you and Steph sit down and you talk about actual real life, we really like that. And so we thought it would be great to sit down, talk about 2022, some of the things we experienced as a family, and where we both have grown and where we are going to go forward, how we're going to increase capacity in our own lives, because this is a concept that we've been talking about now for 4 years, and it's something that has been absolutely transformative for us. I get into a whole lot of it. Shout out to Ryan Franklin. I was able to be on his show, Christian Leader Made Simple, and I talked about some of the ways that the increased capacity concept has been transformative for me, but I know, Stephanie, it's been transformative for you, and we're going to talk about how we are going to increase capacity as individuals and as a family in 2023, and we want to do that, so hopefully it can spark some ideas and some reflection in you. But let's talk about 2022. What a year.
It was a good year, Adam.
It was a great year.
It was a good year.
Past couple years were just weird.
And you know, Adam, we really hate to say the word, but we all know what happened. And it was even weirder in Canada.
Like America does not even understand. That's our number one audience, by the way. America, I love your country. We're going to talk about how we visited your country many times when we were allowed to leave ours as a family.
And we were so thankful. We were so thankful. I actually posted on my Instagram when I finally crossed, and Judah finally crossed the border. It had been over 2 years. And guys, we love the United States. Like, we come over all the time.
We do. Judah has already, in our last family road trip, which I'm already jumping ahead, but our last family road trip, he told us that when he gets older, he would like to move to America because you have great vending machines.
That was the breaking point. Yeah.
He was like, he walked in, he's like, I love America. We were in like a Walmart in a small town in Michigan, and he walks in, he's like, the vending machine options here are amazing. And you can carry a gun. And he's really excited about that because he loves guns. He loves guns. And handguns were just banned in Canada. I don't have any because I haven't gone through the requisite licensing process in order to get them, because they hold the classes on Sundays and I'm otherwise occupied. And so, but he's complete. Like I'm convinced. Now we'll get back to, I'm convinced, like, I'm convinced he was born maybe in the wrong country, because I was traveling in 2022 and I was going to go into his room and say goodbye to him because I was flying out really early in the morning, and he's there loading his, like, he's got this little like bow and arrow, and he had a baseball bat next to him. And I said, "Hey buddy, how you doing?" And he's like, "Good." He said, "Just making sure the bow and arrow works." I said, "You getting ready? Getting ready when Daddy goes away? You get ready that in case any bad guys come?" And he, no word of a lie, Steph. He looks up and he goes, "If you stay ready, you don't." I can't even say it. You don't have to get ready. I stay ready. And I was like, "Oh man, this kid needs a pair of boots. He needs a pair of boots and a Glock." Like that's, and anybody, the Canadian overlords that may be listening to us, right? I may be getting shadow banned because of that. But he wants a Glock, he wants some boots, and he wants a truck, and he wants vending machine options. So yes, 2022.
So America has all the things.
America has all
the boxes,
all of the things. And I almost made a healthcare joke, but I won't go there. So anyway, 2022. What happened?
So we finally, as a family, went over to the great country of the United States of America, and we went down to Florida.
Yes.
And we spoke in Florida.
It was in Alabama. It was with the Florida church, but we were in Alabama.
Yes, we were. And it was my first time in Alabama. I was so happy to be there. That was a neat experience.
Sweet home,
Alabama. And I felt right at home there, yes. And so so we went to Florida, and that was our first time in a couple of years. So that was super exciting for us, like extra exciting for us. And we really enjoyed our time there. We went to a condo and stayed there for a week and relaxed and enjoyed the sunshine.
And went to Disney World.
And we went to Disney.
And that was a lot of fun.
Judah loved the rides. We did not have any dinosaur fails.
With red eyes, yes. I don't know if you remember this. For those of you that are longtime listeners, you know that we scarred our child at Disney World. Oh, what was it, 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
Yeah, he was about 3, 4.
He was 3, 4, yeah, so between 5 or 6 years ago, we took him on a ride that he shouldn't have gone on.
To be fair, he said he loved dinosaurs.
I want you to know, though, that my message, Jesus, boss of the dinosaurs, which is going to make its way into the podcast at some point, has been preached literally everywhere. And it comes from Judah being mentally and psychologically scarred from Disney World on the. So I guess there was some good. Anyway, when we went this time, he liked
did not have any dinosaur fails.
No, and he liked the rides. And so that was not the only place we went. Talk to us about what else happened.
Okay. We went over to England.
Yes.
But before we were in England, we took a couple days and we went to Paris. And guys, Paris is amazing.
Paris is what's up. Like that's you need to go there.
And like everybody says they like Paris, but you don't really know until you've been there. And that was our first time. And it was amazing.
And here's the thing. Everybody goes. Paris is so expensive. And that's why no one can ever go. Everything is so expensive. It was cheaper than Canada. Like the food was cheaper than the country we live in. Like we were getting primo food.
It was so good. Like,
so good.
We're still talking about it. Like
we're still,
later.
in fact, but here's what we did though. We didn't go to any tourist traps. We did extensive research before we left, like YouTube videos, blogs, travel lists.
You guys, if you're going to Paris, message us for a list.
Message us, because we've got bakeries, restaurants, and coffee shops.
Okay, and something else that we did when we were there that was super fun. Okay, there's like a lot of things that we did. We're obviously very like excited about it.
Yeah, we want to go back.
But we also got a photographer.
We did.
And that was super fun. And it's such like amazing memories that we have captured. We went to the Eiffel Tower. And so that was really fun. So if you're going there, we have a list of like bakeries and coffee shops and places to go. But we also have like photographers that we could recommend to you because it was actually cheaper than what we're paying Canada. Like it was a really great deal. So everything about Paris was like cheaper.
It was really good, and probably one of the highlights, besides obviously Eiffel Tower, hanging out with really great friends.
The Louvre.
Oh, the Louvre at night.
The Louvre at night. You guys have to do it at night.
That was pretty cool. But I was talking about one of the great highlights, which wasn't you falling off a scooter in the middle of a street. That was not in the show notes.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna be famous on one of those like YouTube shows one day. I'm just waiting for it. Like Adam loves to watch the fails, and one day somebody's dash cam is gonna show up with me falling off a scooter.
Here's what it is. We were on our way to get our pictures taken to the Eiffel Tower, and Uber was really expensive, and we didn't obviously have a rental car. And despite being from Canada, our French is not great, so we didn't do the metro, but they had electric scooters.
Okay, and we love them.
Oh, we loved, and electric bikes. We loved them. They were great.
It was checking all of our adventure boxes.
All of the family values of adventure. Yeah, it was fantastic. And so we left early in the morning, and it's because it's pictures in front of the Eiffel Tower. We were a little more dressed up. And so we won't need to belabor the point, but if you see like a dash cam fail video of like a woman with long hair, a skirt, and high heels tumbling off of a scooter, there's a good chance.
I'm famous.
Now, before you all laugh at Stephanie, I face planted on a sidewalk on a scooter in Cambridge, and by myself. And everyone kept a stiff upper lip and kept on walking. And I've been in 4 weeks of physiotherapy to repair whatever was done in my shoulder. And so, but Paris was amazing. And then we gotta move forward. But
wait, you were telling them about something though.
Oh yes. Rabbit trailed the conversation. Forgot where I was going. Substance Cafe.
Okay, the Lord really loves you, Adam.
He does.
Like for real though.
Yeah.
Because we had gone to a bakery that had like these really amazing
Cruffins.
That's what they're called.
Chocolate pastry dough baked like a muffin, filled with chocolate pastry cream, dusted with cocoa.
Oh, they were unreal.
Yeah, it was really good.
And we probably won't tell people that was our second one that day. Like we had to actually gone back to the bakery because it was so good. We're like, we have to hit this place one more time before we go.
Yeah. Then we were looking for coffee.
We were looking for coffee because obviously you need like coffee to go with your cruffin.
Yeah.
And we went to a coffee shop that was not fantastic. And so you pulled out your phone.
And I just searched coffee near me.
Yes. And there was like a coffee shop that was just right around the corner.
In an alleyway.
And it had high reviews.
And so we walk in, and a guy had a triple group head Slayer, which to have a Slayer espresso machine, I'm sorry, I'm geeking out way too much. A Slayer espresso machine, which is an American-built machine for third wave coffee in Europe, like that's an expensive machine. That's like really expensive. I think I checked the price on that in Canada. They're like $40,000. But there was no food. There was no takeout. You couldn't get any coffee to go. And he had a menu board of geisha varietals that you could pick from, which if you know coffee, you know that those are really exclusive and hard to find. But the coolest thing was the guy had trophies everywhere from things that he had won doing coffee competitions, which, yes, is a real thing. But what was cool is you sit down and you're like, I don't know what to order. He goes, give me adjectives in a very French accent, which made it way cooler.
Way cooler.
And he's like, give me adjectives. And
so, like, what would be an example?
He's like, powerful, fruity, bold.
Surprising.
Yeah. Or like surprising, intense, fermented.
Colorful.
Yeah. You'd give him 3 adjectives and he would make a coffee from that. And honestly, we bought a couple of bags, and it was mind-blowingly good coffee, even at home.
And you guys, if you go to Paris, like this is an absolute must that you like. Coffee's never tasted like this before, and I really am not even as excited as Adam about coffee. Like you all know my Tim Hortons problem.
Yeah, Steph is a Tim Hortons person.
To be fair, though,
and I like coffee in a way that makes people feel uncomfortable. What's that? Sorry.
I said Tim Hortons in Canada is better.
It is. It is better. Sorry to people that live in Missouri and Ohio, but honestly, we went there and we're like, what is this? It's just sludge. Hot sludge.
This place was amazing.
And
even I was impressed. So that's how you know it's really amazing. Like that's the true test.
So what are some other things? 2022, other highlights. This was a big year for full ministry travel for us because, as you know, we don't want to talk about it anymore, but it's still really real. A huge part of our ministry is speaking at conferences and camps and doing leadership stuff with, and so we were able to travel to across 4 different countries to speak, not including, going to Paris would make 5 countries. We did that for fun. But we were able to be in the U.S., travel within our own country, across the United Kingdom, and then we were also in Australia too, and that was pretty awesome. And as far as recap at like local church level, we have started a new year. It's our first year in 3 years without any restrictions on worship, because like American friends, Australian friends, it was, I think, the end of the summer was when the restrictions, or in the summer was when the restrictions. Am I right on that, Stephanie?
Or was it June?
Was it June? Okay, so summer, beginning of the summer, I should say, was when the restrictions began to be fully lifted. And so we're walking into a brand new year with a full ministry calendar, which is something that we've not seen in 3 years, which is pretty cool. But that's enough about the kind of the fun stuff that we've done and things that have kind of happened. We wanted to talk about growth. We wanted to talk about where we've grown this year. And Steph, start with you.
Adam, I'm so hesitant to say this, but
should I feel nervous?
But I was listening to a show and it really changed my life. Okay, you guys, but for real, I do have to tell you something. Adam's episode on the Restorationist.
I'm bringing salvation to my own home, guys.
But it was about being brutally honest.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's because I turned 40 this year. That was like a highlight. I turned 40 this year. That's a big deal.
Right. That is a big deal.
But we won't talk too much about that. But the show, it was right around the time when I turned 40 that you recorded that episode about being brutally honest.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, it really changed my life. Oh, but it actually did, guys. Like it was really like transformative for me personally, because I don't know. I think sometimes that we're like, we have this like, I don't know.
Well, the whole show is about confronting who you really are.
But sometimes we tell ourselves stories.
Yes.
Or we tell ourselves like we're not actually this way, and we believe it. Like we're fooling ourselves. It's crazy.
The greatest people that we often deceive is ourselves. We are the worst liars to ourselves, more than we are at times even to other people. And I remember that episode. It was just about being brutally honest with yourself so that you could take radical ownership of your own life. And the thing that stuck with me as I was writing that episode is that people often don't change. and the reason why people often don't change, like we all know this, right, Steph? And those of you that are listening, we all know of people that have been struggling with the same junk, the same baggage. They've been stuck in the same place in their life for years. It's just dead weight. And it's like they ignore it because they would rather live in a fantasy world of who they imagine themselves to be than confront who they really are.
Or they place the blame on other people.
Yes.
So I am this way because this.
We project onto external factors a problem that is really ours to own.
Right. And so, honestly, Adam, I do have to say that was like a pretty transformational moment in my life where I actually stopped and I began to take stock of like, because I don't want to be 45 and stuck for the last like 10 years.
Yeah.
Like I want to continue to grow and to have a desire to grow. And so being brutally honest is part of that because, once you start to hit like, around my age, it's easy sometimes to just go on autopilot because you've been doing
fall back to, you got these factory default settings of how you lived and how you operated for the longest time.
And you can just get into habits.
Yeah, ruts and routines. This is the way I've always done it. And the way
and sometimes it's good to have like habits, but sometimes your habits can limit you because you just continue doing the same thing you've always done. And so it was a real eye-opener for me. And I found myself really trying to start being brutally honest with myself.
Yeah. And what are some examples of that you can think of off the top of your head? Like not necessarily ways that you had to be brutally honest with yourself, unless you're willing to share that. But what are some things that people may need to be brutally honest about and say, hey, this is not something I've got to stop blaming, my parents. I got to stop blaming, the mother or father that left. I got to stop blaming the person that hurt me a decade ago for why I am the way that I am. I have to take responsibility and just own who I am in this moment. What are some examples?
I've heard a lot of them and some of them I've used myself.
Yeah.
But sometimes we'll tell ourselves like, I am this way because of what happened to me in my childhood.
Yeah.
Or we'll say something like, I am this way because the way my parents were not a good example to me in this way. So I never learned this habit or I never learned this, skill in life. And that can be true, but at some point we have to address it, right? And another way that we can also, really begin to take radical accountability is, for example, sometimes we have hurts and things that have happened to us and we allow those to become stumbling blocks in our own lives. And so, we will say, I don't have a problem with that person, but underneath in our true heart of hearts, that you're bitter.
Yeah.
Or that you're angry, or that you have a grudge, or you're jealous. And so that's why you talk about these people. And so, or maybe, it's a family member. And so you have hurts that you can't get over, but you tell yourself it's not a big deal and it's just fine.
Yeah. And I think sometimes what we can do is say, well, I've had my heart broken before, so I don't trust men, or I don't trust women, or I don't trust this group, or I don't trust that group. Well, no, the reality is you're bitter, right? Where I had to get brutally honest was when it came to like physical health, and it was like, I don't have time. And it's like, look at screen time on iPhones that revealed that I actually had time. It's
you
like,
actually do have time.
I actually do have time.
Here's another example, Adam, that like I've thought about lots of times. I'll tell myself that when I'm on Instagram or when I'm on Facebook, that it's just a moment for me to relax, as opposed to like actually identifying wasting time is wasted time.
Yes.
Not to say that you can never like take time to relax, but sometimes social media and stuff is not actually true relaxation. And so, but you're telling yourself like, oh, it's a little bit of me time. And so you tell yourself that you're not able to accomplish your goals.
Yeah.
Or you're not able to, exercise or do, some of those things that you've been wanting to do for a long time because you don't have time.
And one of the things that I think of when I think of being brutally honest and taking radical responsibility for your life, it doesn't mean that you always have to fix it on your own or by yourself. That it means that you may need to get a pastor, you may need to get a life coach, you may need to go to a mental health counselor, get an accountability partner for, how you spend your time, how you spend your habits, and because you need to resource. It's the whole idea of increasing capacity. Going back to the original episode, the widow had to find more jars, but where the brutal honesty comes in is with owning that you actually have a problem or a gap in your life, refusing to cover it up, refusing to hide it. One of the most tragic things that sometimes, being in pastoral ministry that you can see is when you're counseling people in whether they're having, relationship issues, or they're having family problems, or they're going through a bad breakup, or they're going through a difficult transition in their life, how often people will put their future and they will put the responsibility for their own growth and their own joy and their own mental health in the hands of other people. And that Be Brutally Honest episode was like, yeah, no, you can't do that anymore. Like, you really cannot do that anymore. It may, in the words of my good friend LJ Harry, not your fault. It may not have been your fault, unless, of course, it was. Then you have to own that too. But if something bad's happened to you, it may not have been your fault, but it's your problem. And you gotta own the fact, I'm bitter, I'm angry, I'm jaded, I'm lazy, I'm undisciplined. The reason why I went to a counselor for 2 months, Steph, was because I woke up and I was like, I need to quit blaming people for my insecurity, my anxiety, and my trust issues. And I need to own the fact that I'm jaded and I haven't learned how to let things go, let hurt go in a way where I could be completely free from the opinions and attacks of others. Like, I got to learn how to get over this. And so I took responsibility for it, and I called a trusted counselor, and I spent 2 months talking to a counselor every single week. Oh my goodness, I'm in a completely different place now.
Right.
Anyway, musicians come.
You changed my life, babe.
Okay, for me, I would say growth. Maybe where I need to grow more in 2023 is celebrating where I've grown in the past, because
give yourself some credit, Adam.
Yes.
He's hard on himself. Guys, help him out.
One of the great things I will say that I've learned is I've learned to love people for who they are, not for who I want them to be.
Yeah.
Or who I can see them to be.
That was one of the good things that the counselor really helped us out with, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It really did. And you know what? That thought alone, like, just honestly, pause for a moment.
Pause for a moment.
And think about your relationships, because sometimes we're projecting onto other people, not who they actually are, but who we want them to be.
An idealized version of themselves that we wish they were, but they aren't.
And it causes frustration, not only for them, but also for you.
And people that work in leadership, that work in ministry, that serve people, we're really bad at this.
Right.
Because we see people and we're like, we see God's plan for their life. We see their gifts, their talents, their potential, their abilities. And then we watch them mess it up with stupid, carnal decisions. And we're like, what are you doing with your life? And then we start getting mad. And we're like, don't you understand? Like, we don't say this, of course, unless you do. If you do, you need to not ever do that again. But we think it, where we go, don't you know how much time I've put into you? Don't you know how much sacrifice I've put into you? Don't you know how much effort I've poured into your life only for you to turn around and do something dumb like that? You got to let that go. The greatest thing that I learned in 2022 was to love people and this goes to that brutally honest part, being really honest. Okay, this person's let me know who they are. Mm-hmm. Their actions or lack thereof people let you know who they are with what they say and what they do. Yeah. And I've learned to not let that bother me when who they are is not great, but to just love them for the broken person that they are.
And when you're able to do that, Adam, not only do you give your other people more grace, but you give yourself more grace.
Absolutely, because you stop holding yourself up to an idealized version of yourself that you wish you were. Mm-hmm. But you begin to love yourself the way that Jesus loves you. Now, this doesn't excuse sin. This doesn't excuse accountability. Like this is not an either or proposition. It's both. It's firmly in the both and camp. Yeah. That you got to take. We just talked about being brutally honest about who you are and where you are, but being comfortable with embracing the grace of God and saying, this is who I am. Here's who I want to be as a person in my maturity, in my mind, in my relationships, and my disciplines. But in between the gap, that cavern, that space between who I am and who I want to be is grace. Yeah. And God loves me for who I am, and his grace covers and fills in the gaps. All he cares about is what direction I'm pointed in. Am I pointed in the right direction? And if for some reason I backslide and I stumble and I point in the opposite direction, while there will be consequences to my actions, the grace and mercy of God will be there to pick me up when I repent. That's how we've got to be with other people.
Yes.
Love people for who they are, not who you wish they would be. Yeah. I feel like the musicians succumb.
Twice now. This is
twice now.
This
second
is altar call.
Second altar call. You tell it's a Pentecostal podcast. Okay, let's talk about 2023 growth. And I hope these conversations are helpful for you. We just wanted to pause and reflect on the year and share with you our lives and where we've grown and what we've learned. And here's where we want to go. Steph, do you have anything that you want to in 2023? Because I feel like I've done a lot of talking, and I need you to talk more now.
You're putting me on the spot, Adam. No, and you know what? I don't even remember what we said, if we talked about this last year at the beginning of the year or not, but I think we did. And honestly, Adam, I'm one of those people that I don't like starting off with completely brand new goals until I feel like I've really finished my last year's goals. And for me, I'm on a journey. I feel like we're both on a journey.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's just refocusing and continuing on the path that we really started in 2022.
Yeah.
But in 2022, guys, we actually began to put shovels in the ground and make serious progress on some of the health goals and the life goals that we had talked about lots. We've wanted to do for a long time, but now we've actually made some serious progress in some of those goals. So it's really exciting. But I feel like 2023, it's just refocus
and take it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So my goals are pretty much the same way that I'm trying to build on skills that I've been working on. Oh my goodness. Probably since I read my first Patrick Lencioni book a decade ago, and the whole idea of creating clarity, which we've talked a lot about on this show. And I'm trying to build on the skills that I've been working on. I feel like I'm getting ready to make a big shift in 2023. I'll break down. But one of the things that I want to get better at is I want to be better at strategic planning. I've always been great at vision. I've always been great at getting that story of where we need to go, getting that, and then galvanizing people around that. But for me, strategic planning is breaking down that vision into not just big picture projects, which I've always been able to do, but breaking them down into these hyper-focused calendared next steps so that I know every day pretty much what I need to be doing in order to accomplish my vision. Now, I've had that to a certain degree, but I want to refine and become a whole lot better. It's not like it wasn't there. Always has been there. It's just getting more intense about that. Physical health is something I've I've been talking about on the show. Feel like that's a huge limiter, and along with that, cutting myself more slack. And Steph, this is actually your idea for me for this year.
Right. It's true.
And that, like, I was talking about how I hadn't been exercising consistently, and
you guys, he's been doing it for a year.
Yes, I just haven't seen the results necessarily that I'm looking for yet. But here we go. I've been going down into my basement at least 3, sometimes 2, most of the time 3, even on vacations. And I have been closing those rings on the Apple Watch.
Yes, so he does not give himself the credit he deserves.
Yes, I think I need to do a better job at celebrating.
Yes.
Celebrating what I have done, because I'm always a what's next person. I see this in Judah. Judah is always like, we accomplished something. He's like, all right, what's next? And I'm like, let's celebrate the thing that we've done. He's like, yeah, that's great. But Dad, what's next? And it's kind of dawned on me. He does that because I am that person. I do that. So I need to cut myself more slack. And then also you said, Steph, to give myself more credit.
For the things that you have accomplished, yes.
Yes. And so I want to become better at strategic planning, improve my physical health, and, celebrate, not be afraid to celebrate what's happened, what's taken place.
Even if it's small steps, like it's still progress.
Still progress.
Even if we haven't 100% achieved the goal fully, like we've made huge progress. So, sometimes you just have to be okay with celebrating where you've come from and where you are, even though you're not 100% there yet. So,
yeah. Growing the show. That's another huge goal for me personally and for us. We want to break 500,000 downloads this year. We're going to.
It's going to happen, Adam.
Going to happen.
We're going to speak faith.
We're going to speak faith. Right. Shout out to my dad. We're going to speak faith. We're going to break it, and we're going to be super intentional about the show. I felt like the past couple of years, I've just been trying to eke out content according to my commitment. This year, we've got a radically, refocused vision. You're going to see more activity on social media, more Instagram Reels, so that we can get that content out there in different platforms. We want to, and I said at the beginning of the show, we kind of wanted to not give too much away, but we're not going to give too much away, but release meaningful merchandise is one of the things that we want to do. People have been asking, they want to rock increased capacity merch. And so we are working. I've got 4 pieces of merchandise that I want to release that would rock the brand, rock the show, allow you to wear the increased capacity concept proudly. But we want to do it in a way that's meaningful. I don't just want to get like junk t-shirts, not junk coffee mugs. If we're doing a mug, the mug is going to be well researched, but we're going to have meaningful merchandise. And this is maybe more long-term, the later part of the year, is I want to take the increased capacity ideas and turn them into some tools for people.
That's exciting, Adam.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And then the last thing is, this is the first year that I will have had a holistic whole life vision for a year. And so this is where I come back to putting all the pieces together. And if you've been tracking with me on the show, and I know there's dozens upon dozens upon dozens of you that have taken the concepts that we have presented and you've radically implemented them in your own life. And you may be wondering, how can I take that to the next level? Well, here's what I'm doing in 2023, and you can track along in the journey with me, is in previous years, I have focused on one particular aspect of my life that I wanted to grow, wanted to shift, wanted to change, become better at, etc. Right? So I would say improving my spiritual health was a focus 1 year. Improving mental and emotional health was a focus 1 year. Working on developing the habits of physical health was 1 year. And then, I wanted to work on this particular thing in my local church. And then another year I was like, all right, I got local church stuff, but I really want to do this with the podcast. This is the first year I have looked at everything in my life, and I have developed a strategic plan for all the stuff that we are involved in as individuals, as a couple, as a family, and developed a plan and a vision for all of those things to be worked on, and to be grown, to have capacity increased on family, on spiritual health, physical health, my local church, my podcast, leadership development, writing projects, and ministry travel, even vacations. We're working on it all. And I feel like it may sound like a lot, but if you start working on things little bit by little bit, if you've never done a holistic life vision, look through some of the episodes on creating clarity and pick an aspect of your life to improve. And then once you've improved it, add another aspect of your life that you want to improve onto that. And then after you kind of get this idea of creating clarity, asking hard questions, being brutally honest, and developing a vision for your life, which shout out to Christian Leader Blueprint. If you're looking for a great guide to do that, you can go and download that from Ryan Franklin. Go to the Ryan Franklin episode, click on the link, sign up, and download that blueprint. Once you develop that vision, it is very possible, once you have exercised the muscle of those skills in singular aspects of your life, to begin a year where you're saying, I'm not just going to work on one aspect of my life or my ministry or my family or my leadership. I'm going to grow my whole life holistically. The whole life is going to increase capacity. It's completely possible. And so that's what I'm working on in 2023. I'm trying to level up not just one aspect, but everything that we do. Take it to a whole nother level.
God's going to help us.
God's going to help us. Absolutely. Well, Steph, anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
So I guess, what did you learn this year? I'm not saying that to Steph or our dog Duke that has wandered into the studio, a.k.a. the basement a little bit. I'm asking you right now, what did you learn this last year? I want you to sit down with a notebook. If you've not already done this, I want you to sit down with a notebook, and I want you to jot down the things, the highlights, the things that you did, you got to experience that were great. And I want you to celebrate where you've grown. Celebrate the milestones you've crossed, the projects that you've started, the things that you have completed, the stuff that you have learned. And then what do you hope for this year? What is the potential that you see ahead in the next 12 months? How can you increase capacity in one or all aspects of your life in 2023? Well, that's all for today. Steph, thank you so much for being a part of today's show.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
And for all of you that are listening, I'm so excited for this year. We already got preacher interviews are back. I know we haven't had them in a while, but preacher interviews are back. I've got one next week. I can't wait to record it and then release it to all of you. And preacher interviews are back. We're going to have some other interviews with other subject matter experts. We got some original content lined up as well. And this is going to be a great year for the show. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, it's at Adam M. Shaw. And for Stephanie, it's
Steffi_Shaw.
Steffi_Shaw. We're going to be releasing content on Instagram as well, and short form videos that will kind of summarize concepts that we present long form here in the show. But again, have a wonderful rest of your year. Enjoy the rest of your month here in January. Set some big goals, trust in God, and together let's increase capacity and let's become the best we've ever been. Take care. God bless. See you in 2 weeks.